I'm here with Karl Connolly from
Hey,
Ingram
Rob.
Micro, who is killing it as he's helping bring Cloud Logic, one of their newest acquisitions, to market. Hey, Karl, thanks for joining.
Hi, Rob. How are you? Thanks for
I'm
having me.
I'm great. I want to jump right into it, Karl. Talk to me. We first off, full disclosure, we're partners with Ingram. Arcas is partners with Ingram. We have been working with Cloud Logic for the past close to 2 years. Watching what Karl and his team are doing with the Cloud Logic team has been fantastic. But I don't think their message has been getting out there, and I really want to help have this conversation. Karl, talk to me, if you can, real briefly, on where you're seeing the greatest value for Cloud Logic.
Thanks, Rob. Great question. Lots of amazing value that Cloud Logic delivers partners. I would say first is cloud enablement. Second is all about placement. Third is migrations and transformation. And probably, Rob, the last most important part of Cloud Logic's capabilities is cost optimization.
I definitely think that last one is a huge one, but one of the things that I've seen Cloud Logic do incredibly well is work with MSPs and VARs that don't have the talent they need to support their customers. And that's where Matt and his team have absolutely, in my mind, not only crushed on some delivery and been incredibly successful, they've helped boost the relationship that MSPs have with their customers because of the expertise that they bring, the cloud expertise that they bring in. Can you comment on that?
No. Absolutely, Rob. You're spot on. Cloud Logic is an amazing organization, very technically talented, but also very talented from a business perspective. So they can look at a project and manage it end to end. You touched on a couple of things. Cloud Logic is really good at helping an organization compete and win by supplementing, complementing, and augmenting that team's capabilities and bringing to bear their 20 years of expertise in IT.
When you talk about enablement, how are they positioning enablement when they're talking to their clients? What does enablement mean to Cloud Logic?
Enablement means a lot of different things depending on the particular partner. There are a lot of partners with capabilities, and some partners need more help in getting to their goals than others. So, for example, we have some partners who, what we would call our legacy partners, in the sense that they're selling traditional IT. Their customers want to move to the cloud. The partner needs to suddenly build a cloud practice, and Cloud Logic can help that partner get the right certifications, understand the technology, understand the landscape, and know what it takes to build out a best-in-class cloud center of excellence.
Well, it's interesting, right? Because usually, at least what I've seen, a lot of resellers have cloud experience within one realm, AWS or Azure or GCP. Very few have access to the experience and talent across a multi-cloud environment, a multi-cloud universe, which becomes important because you never know. In fact, I would argue most organizations, most clients rarely know which cloud their stuff sits in, or they make an assumption that it's all in one cloud, and it's often in two or even three clouds.
Well, I can't get into speculation, Rob, but I will tell you this. We have a BI program at Ingram, right? So I can typically see the IT footprint of an end customer. Now I'm talking mid-market and above. That's kind of the realm I play in. And I can tell you hands down, those customers have embraced every cloud under the sun and probably a score of different SaaS providers. So their cloud and services landscape is incredibly diverse. You mentioned Cloud Logic being sort of cloud agnostic, and that's absolutely the fact. If Cloud Logic was a country, they would be Switzerland because they're neutral. In other words, when they go in and they assess a workload or a transformation opportunity, they're not picking a cloud that they prefer. What they're doing is picking a cloud that best suits the business needs. So that's very unique. And more importantly, they look at all of the clouds and give the end customer all the data that they need to make an informed decision, whether that's performance, compliance, scalability, elasticity, and most important, cost.
Well, that last one is in some ways the key, right? And now we're looking at, it's funny, right? We're looking at a scenario where it appears there's going to be a recession coming. Not that I want to use the R word, but
oh, you're such a downer.
Right, exactly. So there's a recession coming. There's cost cutting initiatives. We're seeing some of the larger Fortune 100 companies talk about reorgs and things like that. But it seems to me that, especially in mid-market and above, the cloud adoption happened so rapidly. It's a perfect time to analyze your cloud spend, more importantly than how much you're spending, but why are you spending this much in cloud, and leaning on Cloud Logic. In fact, I've worked on a couple projects on this, leaning on Cloud Logic to provide better insight that might automatically be able to save big companies millions, like literally millions from what we've seen.
Yes, and for all your listeners, we now know that Rob is dressing up as the Grim Reaper for Halloween. Perfect.
No. Hey, I'm in data security. I'm always the Grim Reaper. That is always when I show up at your door.
Yeah,
when I show up at your door, you're having a really bad day that's about to get worse.
All right. Okay, let's dispel with the doom and gloom. You're absolutely right. Here's the fact. Most organizations that have moved workloads to the cloud are wasting 1/3 of every dollar spent. And that's typically because the cloud is a little bit sort of vaporware, right? You just put stuff up there and you don't see it day to day. So it's not kind of in your face. And therefore, if it's not managed well, those cloud costs can get very expensive very quickly. And in fact, many organizations who've moved to cloud thinking that it was going to solve all of their IT economic problems are very shocked when they get the cloud bill, sticker shock, in fact. What Cloud Logic is able to do, Rob, is, as you know, very well, go into an organization and analyze all of the IT assets. In fact, there's a service that they offer called CMDB TrueUp, Configuration Management Database TrueUp. And you would think that that's obvious that organizations are a well-oiled machine, that they have great insights onto all of their assets and how much they're costing. The fact is they don't. And what Cloud Logic does is they come in, do a discovery, identify the assets, and then rationalize the portfolio. And part of that is the services, right? The things that are running in the cloud. Because as you said, moving to the cloud is not the be end and end all. In fact, oftentimes resources are not decommissioned or turned down, or people go on vacation and you're paying by the drip. There's services that are very chatty sometimes, and they're constantly doing egress and ingress, and that costs money, right? So unless you have a well-managed cloud approach, it's going to cost you a lot of money. And therefore, cloud is not always the best destination for applications as well. What Cloud Logic will do is come in and assess the workloads, but not just the parent workload, all of the dependencies underneath that, to determine where that application should sit.
One of the things, the misnomers in their name, Cloud Logic, it's really more data logic. It's really more compute logic. Only because you're absolutely right. When we've worked, one of the big misconceptions about cloud is that, hey, it's cheap. One of the other big ones is, hey, it's secure. Hey, we're compliant. And the reality is not necessarily true unless you go in with a really focused plan and understand how to build and manage to those three things. And so when we're working on projects, we're seeing them say, Cloud Logic say, no, keep this on-prem or keep this in your data center, keep this here in this provider and this over here in another provider. Here's how we're going to traverse this to keep costs down. But your point, dead on, it's not inherently cheaper, especially at scale, but it is significantly easier to manage. But that point about CMDB is the other piece. Most organizations, in particular since COVID, have struggled with CMDB. They just don't know where things are. And it's when everyone was in the same building, doing the same thing every day, having the same conversations, it was easier, I think, to be able to somewhat track devices and data and ownership. Now that everyone is remote, and to an extent, I know this is fluctuating, hybrid. There's a great opportunity to really true up on the CMDB. What do we have and what do we need? Why are we using that? And does it need to be that expensive?
Well, Rob, you keep bringing up security. Do you know a good security consultant outfit?
Well, I'd like to say that here at Arcas, the team is doing great stuff with Cloud Logic and others, a lot of MSPs and VARs, and now even some companies directly, with not only the security piece, which I think a lot of companies, especially in the mid to Fortune 100, are understand, hey, security needs to be addressed in the cloud, but where we consistently see fall downs is in compliance.
Yeah.
They have their compliance for on-prem data center stuff. And then when we start asking about, okay, how are you tracking user accessibility, login failures, data moves, deletions, they look at us and they're like, hadn't even thought about this. And it's great because when we're working with Matt and Aaron's team and whatnot, what we often will hear is a collaborative, well, let's figure this out. Let's source this correctly. Which is nice.
That's Rob blowing his own trumpet and right? No. Look, that's the thing about Cloud Logic. First and foremost, they're very partner-centric. So to your point, there are things that they do, and then there are things that they collaborate with other partners such as Arcas on. So when it gets back down to it, they're very good at assessing an environment. And essentially, they're going to look at the business objectives and then backfill, so to speak. They don't sort of force fit like other organizations, a technology solution, and hope that it will sort of magically adjust to the business requirements. So they fundamentally start with the business decision makers and understand what that organization is trying to do. Then they'll go in and assess. They'll look at the current assets, the hardware, the software, and the cloud, and they'll do a portfolio rationalization. But you brought up a very important topic. As part of the overall CMDB true-up, they're also going to look at the workflow and the machines in that workflow, and then determine whether or not those machines are given the right, an appropriate level of compliance or governance. Because over time, organizations have gone through massive changes. Those CMDBs get notoriously out of whack. If an organization is contemplating a merger or an acquisition or it's gone through one, then there's a lot of overlapping technologies. And all of that needs to be accounted for. And more importantly, today with, as you mentioned, the pending recession, organizations have an opportunity to evaluate their assets and ensure they're getting the right return on their investment for those assets. So the only way you can do that, Rob, as you well know, is with insight. And so there are deep discovery capabilities, dependency mapping, and then sort of blueprinting, road mapping, digital transformation is second to none. And I can say that in all honesty, because I've evaluated lately very large organizations with services capabilities, and I always go back to Cloud Logic. It's a small organization, very nimble, very powerful in terms of their experience and core capabilities, and willingness to sit down with a partner and understand how they can help that partner themselves grow, not only intrinsically, but the opportunity. And many of those partners are doing things with Cloud Logic that they couldn't do alone. And because of Cloud Logic, are actually getting called back again and again and again because the experience was great.
Yeah.
The guys not only deliver on the technology, but they deliver end to end on the program project management, and that's essential. They stay engaged the entire duration, from cradle to grave, so to speak.
No, and I think that's one of the really nice things, right? Is for for lack of a better term that I can come to, when you're working with them, it's one throat to choke. Like they take control and management, and
Errands.
they take control and management, and it's like, listen, here's how we're going to do this. Here's our process, and yeah, they're flexible, but at the same time, they've done this now at least a couple times.
Oh yeah.
They know what works. More importantly, they know what doesn't work. Like they'll tell you, yeah, no, that's a terrible thing.
Yeah.
Let's not go that way. Quick question, because I want to come back to something. I want to come back to something that you said. Talk to me about your BI analytics that Ingram has,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
I don't think enough. I don't think enough of our partners, our resellers, fully understand the scale and scope of this. Talk to me about that for a quick second.
Rob, thanks for asking the question about our BI. Ingram Micro as an organization, because of our size and scope, we actually touch about 67% of all IT transactions in North America, because our partners are ordering stuff from us and we deliver stuff for them. We've contained all that information over time in a data lake, and then we're applying BI and capabilities towards it. We would call that prospecting. If a partner wants to sort of increase their share of wallet and wants a general sense of what that end customer is consuming, well, we can kind of help them out with that. From there, we kind of move down the flow, if you will, from specific to general. And in the general scope, we can then bring in other third parties that have additional capabilities, like our friends over at CXO Nexus.
Mhm.
And CXO Nexus will take that general view and then get it very specific and tie the IT to spend data. And in that process, show overlapping, redundant, or technology that the organization may not be managing best or using best. And therefore, that's where Cloud Logic really can come in and take the data, whether it's the general TAM view or BI or CXO Nexus specific view, and develop a remediation plan for that partner to execute in conjunction with Cloud Logic, such that the customer on the tail end of it comes out with a more economically viable IT footprint, a more modern footprint, saving money that can be reinvested into more strategic initiatives and get them on the path of their digital transformation journey exactly where they want to go.
How do resellers get in touch with you? Like, how do they engage Cloud Logic? What does that look like? I'm sure many are nervous. How do we set up some introductory calls?
Yeah, so I'd say first and foremost, if you're an Ingram Micro partner, reach out to your partner manager and ask them about Cloud Logic. Cloud Logic is an Ingram Micro company acquired a year ago, so you don't have to worry about competition or Cloud Logic coming in there to cannibalize your account. All they want to do is help you succeed in business and deliver better quality of outcomes to your end customers. Great set of guys, very willing to engage, look and evaluate your ask and specific need. You can email CloudLogic at ingrammicro.com or reach out to your partner manager and say, hey, I've heard about CloudLogic. I'm interested in having a cursory call with them. And they'll just have a chat and see if it's a good fit for you or not.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks, Karl. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Rob. I'll talk to you soon. Appreciate the chance to talk to you. Great to see your face as always. And I can't wait to see you in your long black robe at Halloween. See ya.